Hey everyone, welcome to the Happy Flosser podcast. My name is Billy Lunt. I am your host, and I'm here to talk to you about all things dental hygiene, to support you on your journey through the dental hygiene program and beyond, guys. I probably talk to you about things that you can utilize once you're graduated. So I know that some of my listeners out there already have RDH after their name, and so shout out to you as well. So this episode today is about how to improve your clinical experience. How do you make your day as a clinical hygienist better? And there's oftentimes things that can really mess up our day when we first start. And for you, if you're a student, a clinical day, some of these same things can apply, whether it's your clinical day in school or your clinical day out in the field. So the dental hygienists during the last several years have been more emotionally, mentally, and physically challenged, probably more than ever before. Patients are presenting with greater oral disease. They've had larger gaps in their care between visits, and I think that we're all feeling the squeeze a little bit. So let's think about some things that we can do, some strategies that we can use to make sure that we can elevate our experience for ourselves and the experiences for our patients that we serve. It's all about making sure that the patients feel like they are at the center of our focus and that they are an important part of the experience of our day. And we want to make sure that our patients feel that way for sure. So when we are working with our patients, we have to have our mindset in the right place. And I can tell you, we're all guilty of saying things like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get to Friday, or I have to get through this day, or, any kind of negative connotation about the fact that you're at the start of your day and you wish that it was over. I'd like to challenge you to take an action step where maybe you take a couple deep breaths or do a stretch or something to reflect on a positive intention and move from feelings of, I can't wait till the weekend, or I have to get through this day, to something like, I get to make a difference today. I have the skills and the knowledge that it takes to really make a difference in someone's life today. Because we all know that there are so many patients that really need us to show up when we get to work. They really present with a lot of needs. And if we can just be our very best self and really think about the why behind why we became a hygienist or why we're doing all of this challenging schoolwork, centering yourself and really putting your mindset and your language out to the world in a way that's very positive will go a long way at servicing you to make sure that you feel like your cup is full. Now, we all know that we have challenging patients, right? So how you approach those interactions with patients can really make a big difference. So sometimes we might go at an appointment with a challenging patient kind of feeling frustrated or defensive or a little bit just anxious. So I would challenge you to shift from things like the patient is difficult, I have a very difficult patient today, to maybe curiosity. Maybe that patient is a little anxious or misunderstood. I can tell you that there were many times that I've worked with a patient where I got the wrong vibe from them. I thought that they maybe were annoyed with me or didn't really like the providing that I was giving them or advice I was giving them or instruction I was trying to educate them on. When really, if I had just thought, how can I support them better, and realized that maybe that patient was a little anxious, so I might have been taking it the wrong way. So if you could try to reframe your mind around challenges that you experience with patients. I'm sorry, I haven't turned my ringtone off today while I'm recording. This is like Happy Flosser Live, right? This is how we roll. And then the other thing is sometimes we get stuck in the weeds. Sometimes we, as perfectionists, hygienists, or type A personality, however you want to categorize yourself, which I try not to do, but just for the sake of this piece, sometimes we forget how much we did accomplish and we focus on maybe what we didn't get done. So the action for you to celebrate maybe a little win, right? So acknowledge a small victory that a patient has on their plate. Maybe the patient showed up on time today, and sometimes they run a little bit late because they have a lot of outside things going on. Or you can shift from things like, I made progress that matters, right? Come away from things like, I didn't get everything done. Maybe you set the goal to do an oral cancer screening and full perio chart on every patient you saw that day, because that's the goal, right? And sometimes we don't always meet that goal. I'm being totally honest. And sometimes it's because things are outside of our control. So we like to have control over all of the goals that we set, but there are some times where we have to just accept the small victories. I wasn't able to do a full perio chart on that patient today. Maybe you did a PSR screening instead on one patient. So you didn't get everything done, but you made progress that mattered with that particular patient, because maybe they had to leave early because their daughter had an appointment or something else came up. So things to think about. The other thing, and we're really good at this, is empathy, right? Asking open-ended questions to understand a patient's concern, a concern that they might have. And this might even be outside something going on in their mouth, right? So get yourself outside of the focus of, I'm here to, I have to get through this prophy appointment, to, I'm here to promote health and wellness with my patient and build trust. And sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in their oral health. And so you have to show up sometimes a little differently for a patient, and that's okay. And if you can just get past the fact that maybe you're not going to be doing anything with your hand instruments today, and you're actually using your empathy as a clinical tool with your patient, you can get a lot accomplished as well. Sometimes we get kind of stuck in the weeds on the service codes that we provide instead of the human interaction that we provide. So something I want you to think about to improve your daily practice as a dental hygienist. I can't stress optimizing your ergonomics enough. Sometimes we're so focused on our patient that we just forget about our own posture, our chair, the instruments that we're regularly using. I really want you to think about, instead of powering through discomfort or powering through an appointment because this patient needs you, your body deserves the care, because you're not going to be able to sustain and serve others if you don't prioritize your ergonomics. And the aligned hygienist is like singing in my head right now because she's amazing and she's very passionate about ergonomics. So I actually couldn't do this podcast without mentioning her or her ergonomics message that I love. So you guys really, I know that sometimes you just have to bend to look, but if you think about the fact that you're caring for this one patient by violating your ergonomics and your posture in your chair, but if you think about more of your whole body and all of the patients that you care for, that if you hurt yourself, you're really not able to help anyone. So that's a problem. So I want you to practice gratitude between appointments. Sometimes this really helps you kind of avoid the burnout and like put yourself back into why you became a hygienist. So jot down one thing you're grateful for after each patient or during a break. Like, you will be so surprised if you do this. I did this for a couple of weeks and I was blown away. So in between each patient, and it was just a sentence, like one thing that I was grateful for having that interaction with that particular patient. And you'll see a pattern develop. And honestly, if you did this for 2 weeks, you could have an entire dialogue of all the reasons why you show up at work and why you do what you do. Because there's something good in every moment, honestly. And every single patient, if you actually take a moment to pause and write down one thing that you got out of that appointment that maybe lit you up, you'll be so surprised when it kind of stacks up over the course of a day. I did that and I was like, yeah, this is the reason why I love doing clinical hygiene. It's for all of these reasons, all of these little gratitudes that I wrote down in between all of these appointments. And sometimes when things are hard or things are crazy, you can go back and reread these little things that you jotted down, those good things in every moment that are there, if you recognize them. It's also important to really remind yourself how oral health connects to systemic health and self-esteem as well. Now, this isn't just about the whole body wellness inside. It's aesthetics and what people see and how they show up in the world. And it matters. How your patient feels about their smile and their mouth is so important to their everyday lives. They really are connected to their smile, really impacts their self-esteem and how they show up, their confidence, how they feel about themselves, how they see the world, and really how they connect with others. There's so much riding on the health of their mouth. And so you can be that advocate for them to help support them through that process. It's really important. And I got to tell you just some other things that really help you improve your day is to do a chart audit when you get to work. If you show up to work and you just go through all of your charts, right? So that you can look over everything, make sure you've set your day up for success, that if you have to take bite wings on your patient, make sure the code is in there. If you don't have to take x-rays and it's in there, take it out, right? This is a really great way for you to collaborate with the other team members, the front office staff, so that everybody's on the same page and everybody has a plan of action for the day. It just makes it gets rid of all of the uckies so that when you have a patient in your chair, you're actually focused on that patient and that patient's needs because you have showed up prepared for that appointment. And to me, that says everything. And patients they may not be able to articulate why everything felt smooth and easy, but because you were prepared, you knew whether or not they needed x-rays, all your service codes were correct, everything went smooth in the appointment, all your notes were done, you stayed on time, everything went well. The patient may not even recognize that you went ahead and did a chart audit before they ever showed up, and you remembered to ask them about their daughter that was sick the last time they were in because you read the previous note that you wrote. And it just goes a long way at paying attention to the details so that your patient recognizes that they're important to you, that you value them, and that you care about who they are, not just about this appointment. Because I'll tell you, sometimes patients look at us as just something to check off, a box they have to check of something that they have to do. And if we treat them that way, it might end up being that way. So we want to treat them like a human. We want to make sure that they see that we value the time that they are with us, and we want to make sure that they feel valued, because that will change it from just being something that they check off in their day to something that they look forward to doing the next time that they see you. And you will look forward to seeing them as well. I'm telling you, it's the key to not having burnout and having joy in all of the moments with the ones that you share with those patients. And I know they have the rule of 20, right? So the 20-minute increments. So the first 20 minutes should include the assessment with the patient, medical history update, x-rays, oral cancer screening, periodontal assessment. And then after that first 20 minutes of gathering, you should kind of know where you're going with this patient. And if the patient needs an SPT or prophy, right, the focus should be, if they need an SPT, your focus shifts right to education and really working super gingerly or giving that patient a treatment plan, understanding the disease, and you move forward through the process. If that patient seems healthy, then you are going to go right on to scaling, right? You're going to do a prophylaxis and you're going to, finish in that 20 minutes. And then that final 20 minutes is for things like stain removal, airflow, polishing, doctor exam, and taking the patient out to the reception area. So as a student, when I say that 20-20-20 rule, they kind of freak out a little bit. It's like, wow, this is skill building, guys. So this is kind of something that we tell you when you're about to graduate, that's what you want to work toward. And here's the thing that I like about the 20-20-20 rule. If you can't scale the teeth in 20 minutes, right? You've done your first 20 minutes, you've done your whole assessment, and you look at that mouth and you can't possibly scale it in 20 minutes, then you probably are not doing a prophy. So the 20-20-20 rule is, I think, really a great measuring stick to find out if you are diagnosing correctly, right? If you are truly calling that stage 1 perio patient a stage 1 perio patient, or that gingivitis patient a gingivitis patient. If it's taking you longer than that, once you are a skilled clinician, you might want to revisit how you are interpreting your assessment. That's what I'll say about that. And then make sure that you have templates, because writing all of your notes by hand just takes way too much time. Create your own personalized hygiene template. Take a look at some of your historical templates over the previous couple of weeks to see if there's things that you write every single time. This is going to really help you kind of find out the key pieces so that you're actually faster at doing your chart audits and faster at recording your notes. And then if you feel like things are a little bit clunky, with the communication between you and the doctor when you're doing your doctor exam. Make sure that you're doing really good communication and aligned with the dentist. I do have an episode on the doctor-patient exam with the hygienist. You might want to listen to that one and kind of review, what does the doctor exam entail? What does it look like? How does it run smoothly, and how can I perform it at my very best so that the patient is part of the whole experience? And then here's the other thing I just want to say about showing up as the best clinician is you are always going to come in behind another provider, right? Unless it's a person coming into the dentist for the very first time in their whole entire life, you're coming in behind someone else. So assume that the previous clinician did the best that they could with the time and the resources that they were given. If you just always assume the best, right? Make sure that you're not throwing some previous provider under the bus. As a profession, we represent one another. Owning your own clinical day starts with controlling your own mindset, thinking about how you show up, being prepared, arriving with empathy, having positive understanding and intention, being a good team player, making strategies that help you become and maintain efficiency, not getting stuck in things that you don't accomplish. Focus on what you did accomplish every day. Align yourself with the team. Be sure that you're communicating well with the dentist, and assume the best in anyone who came before you. These are really great skills to help you as a dental hygienist. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so that whenever a new episode launches, you will get a notification so that you can take little steps towards learning all that you need to know for dental hygiene school. Take care, everyone.